Do you struggle to convert your winning positions and big advantages into wins in your chess games? I realize that this is likely the most frustrating thing for most of you chess players, but in that case, you have come to the right place. In this game, I'm sharing with you how I got a winning position relatively quickly against the French defense in this game against a Chinese player rated 2250-ish FIDE. This was in a blitz. And yeah, basically giving you a model you can follow for converting advantages more often in your own games. Now, there's many decent approaches I can go for. In hindsight, maybe it would have been better to play something like knight c3 and castle queenside a bit faster. As it did occur to me after knight f3, knight c6, and knight c3, then my opponent could have considered maybe going knight f6 and trying to get the knight into d4 as such. But instead, my opponent went for the bishop b4 pin, which is probably just a little bit ineffective after bishop d2, just keeping control in the style of the Python strategy video that I covered yesterday. By the way, if you did miss these videos but you want to make sure you keep up with them, I would recommend that you hit the subscribe button down below. And in case you are a subscriber but maybe you're still missing the videos, I can recommend that basically you tap that notification bell and you set it to all to make sure you're not going to miss out on any of my training videos. But yeah, after queen e7, this position does make a pretty good puzzle where, with the benefit of hindsight, we can maybe say that perhaps it was better to take first and then to play queen e7. Although, of course, with the bishop pair, white would still have quite a pleasant advantage, like, say, queen e1, bishop. You can still get good pressure against d5, as it were, but queen e7 does give white a nice opportunity, and I think it won't surprise you too much to learn that I did avail this opportunity in the game. Now, if you do need more time, you can always pause the video and figure out the answer, or just get the answer from me. But yeah, basically the key move here, and the only one to really establish a big advantage, is the move of knight to d5. And the point of knight d5, after we take off the bishops, is that black just doesn't really have a great way to deal with the tension between the pieces. Queen in d6 might not be losing by force. It is the move I kind of expected. But, it's still not so easy. I actually have to admit, something I didn't realize during game is actually knight b6. Yeah, looks like it just wins material, but it turns out there is the move knight d4. That does allow black to basically save himself with, with tactics in this instance. We can't take the pawn because of the, the queen takes d4 thing. But yeah, I don't have to play knight b6 either. I can play queen e3 and, prepare knight b6, and that's still going to be pretty tough for black to get out of as such. However, the problem with the move knight d5 in the game is that I can just play e takes d5. And when the knight moves, say, we'll lose a key defender of the e5 pawn. So, for example, after knight b8, this ending is basically just going to be winning for white, and we'll kind of see a little bit more how to convert this sort of advantage in how the game played out, where my opponent played knight to d4. Here, actually, I missed a small opportunity. I actually could have played queen takes e5, and, well, I probably rejected because of knight takes f3, but yeah, computer points out you can go queen g7, and, technically this wins a bit faster. But okay, knight d4 doesn't spoil anything either. This position after rook takes d4, take. This endgame should still be winning for white. I will admit I'm a bit surprised my opponent didn't play king e7 and keep the king in the center in the endgame, but he decided to castle. We have bishop to f3, bishop to f5. And at this point, I'll admit that I was actually a little bit torn, where I sort of thinking, well, a move like d6 seems very tempting. Just get that passed pawn, get the pressure on b7. But after this move like c6, I wasn't quite sure how to follow it up, as it were. And I figured, well, rather than kind of forcing the play, maybe I should be a little bit more patient. My rook is kind of the one piece here that's not really doing a whole lot. So trying to play harmoniously, I did play the move of rook to e1 here. Just, fighting for the control of the one open file. If I had this position again, maybe I would play a move like rook c4 and just put some pressure on this pawn. So that, a difference you'll see here is that, now rook e8 is not as effective, because we can just take a second pawn for free compared to the game. Whereas in the game, at least black's able to play rook e8 and fight for the file, even though it is true that, this position is still winning for white. And again, king d2 maybe not the first line of the engine, but just being very practical, just keeping the control and not letting their rook invade. Black played f6. I decided to expand with the move of c4, wanting to try to create a passed pawn. Now I do think in this position it might be more precise to... Well, the move d6 is a move that was jumping out at me during the game, but I wasn't quite sure how to follow up after c6. But yeah, the computer points out that rook b4 is going to be pretty strong, where it's very hard to defend the b7 pawn in an effective way. Because rook b8, you can just take and use the pin like this, but if they play bishop c8, well then you've got some tricks of like d7, where you're sort of able to, either take on b7 and, win the house that way. Or if they do try and move like rook d8, which seems apparently to get the pawn back, we have this nice little trick of bishop d5 to break the pin and, just have this winning rook endgame where you're not just a pawn up, but you also have some very clear weaknesses to target, which, will give white a winning position, as we are going to pick up one of these two pawns in the next moves, like rook a8, rook d7, for example. So that would have made it a lot easier for me. Again, a move like rook a4 also could be considered, just going after the weaknesses and trying to provoke weaknesses in their pawn structure. But okay, the move c4, while it's not the very best, it also doesn't spoil anything here. I ended up playing the move b4, just wanting to prepare c5, and really I kind of forgot the Illingworth principle, and if you don't know what the Illingworth principle is, well, I'll probably do a video on it later on, but the question is, can you play the move that you're preparing? So the idea of b4 is to prepare c5, but can we just play c5 immediately? And it turns out you can, because if they do take the pawn, you just go rook c4 and you just get the pawn back anyway. So yeah, I could have done that, but, b4 makes your life easy. And something to keep in mind is, like, you're not really trying to play it like a computer. You just want to make your life as easy as possible. So yeah, c5 might not be the absolute top line of the engine, but the plan of creating that passed pawn and sort of setting up that second weakness for black after they very kindly create a weakness for us with a5. Like, that's how we win this sort of position. We just give them so many weaknesses they just can't defend everything at once. And the reason that the passed pawn is kind of a weakness is because black is going to have to position the piece a bit passively to stop our pawn simply queening. Of course, in the endgames, we want to have a passed pawn and queen a pawn so we have mating material. So black goes king knight d7. I decided to flick in the move bishop d5 check, which in hindsight is not the most precise. I think that bishop c6 and just cutting off their king would just be considerably more effective. But okay, I played bishop d5 check, going for a more forcing approach. And I moved bishop b3 again, just kind of a good example of keeping the control, where we're not letting him get any counterplay of rook b2. We're also fixing a5 in place. And my opponent, didn't really find a very good defense. I was expecting him to go rook b6 and maybe try to, get the pawn back this way. Although it's not so easy. Like, say if I play h4, for instance, and they go king d7. I do have moves like g4 here where, black is actually having some problems with the bishop, like h5, and, you can sort of see that, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. Like, they're not even threatening to take, actually, because you just go bishop a4 and you are just going to win the material in this way. So that sort of indicates the problems that black's facing, but yeah, bishop d7 just makes it easy for me, as I'm now able to follow, rook in the 7th rank, money in the bank. And notice how we're not, like, massively changing our play just because we're a pawn up. We're just making sure our piece is as active as possible to keep the full control. Rook b2 just doesn't really do anything. We just go king e3 and, they just have nothing here. The game ultimately ended rook b6, take, rook h7. So now I'm just basically 2 full pawns up. Now here I did actually miss a slightly faster win, where I missed this idea of takes and, just going into an easily winning pawn ending. I ended up going back and forth, just realizing on the second go that, I want to try and get this in again. When he played bishop f5, I just went rook a7, and and he realized at this point, like, if black has absolutely no counterplay, I'm just going to push my h-pawn, and, black is not going to be able to cover all of his weaknesses at the same time. And this is why my opponent resigned in this position. So yeah, with this example, you can see that this is how you convert an advantage. Where if we do kind of look at some of the key moments of the game and break it down, we can see that my opponent didn't position his pieces in the best way, which allowed me to take advantage of his tactical opportunity of knight d5, where a lot about playing the opponent is just about basically leveraging the piece and pawn tension in your favor, sort of prompting some favorable exchanges for you. And then once I was a pawn up, you'll notice how I just made sure all my pieces were in the game. that I kept control of the position. Bit being an endgame, I made sure to work towards creating a passed pawn, b4, c5, d6. And then finally, I just made sure to keep my pieces active. I made sure to keep his pieces out of the game so they couldn't attack us easily. And then, yeah, just basically just continuing to attack his weaknesses so that black just has too many weaknesses and can't really defend them all at once. Do let me know in the comments below, what was your takeaway that you got? Do you feel more confident now that you'll be able to convert a winning position into a win in your own games? And also, if you are interested in, let's say, going deeper into this topic and taking your mastery to the next level, in that case, you may like to explore coaching with me, because I think that for many of you watching this training, and also congrats as you have got to the end, I think that it's fair to say that, you feel like you're kind of close to getting to that next level on the one hand, but on the other hand, you're sort of like just getting like these positions where, like, when you do get a much better position against a high-rated player or player-owned rating, you often end up squandering it and getting really frustrated. And if you want to instead convert those positions a lot more often and just kind of enjoy your chess and your improvement journey a lot more, then coaching may well be for you. And in that case, I recommend reaching out to me via the link in the description below to sort of start that conversation. But yeah, whatever the case may be, I will see you all in the next training. And until then, take care.